Okay, happy Hanukkah to everybody. Please enjoy the Hanukkah refreshments courtesy of the Shul in Lancaster Yeshiva. Today we want to speak about Rabbi Morton Singer, Rabbi Mordechai Tzvi, Ben Chaim Shlomo, who perished in Vietnam War on Hanukkah. And we want to speak about a hashkafa, an outlook that he had, and we want to examine it because it's part of a major contrast dilemma that we have with Hanukkah. Rabbi Singer, so he learned in several yeshivas. He had smicha ordination for Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Levracha. So he was a big Talmid Chacham. He was someone that learned and taught a lot of Torah to students in Great Neck, and I have the pleasure of meeting many of his students and in contact with them. But besides teaching the students Torah, he taught the students you have to be physically strong. And his students, who were my age and older, they were taught by Rabbi Singer, both men and women, well then they were men and women, that a Jew has to be strong physically as well as spiritually, and he took it very, very seriously. I don't know if I mentioned in the past, I spoke to one woman in her 60s, and she said, I still feel tough from the endless sit-ups Rabbi Singer made me perform. A woman. And they all told me this. And he taught them that you got to learn a lot of Torah, and you got to make yourself physically strong. The 8th grade, he picked out certain children that he felt they were very well suited to learn martial arts, and the message he gave over was the same as another one of his rebbes, Rabbi Kahana Zatzal, who was murdered. Hashem should avenge his blood, and that times are different, and Jews have to be physically tough. He didn't say get in the fight every day, but he said at least have an aura, have an appearance that you can't push Jews around. We're not going to put up with your anti-Semitism anymore. I've mentioned in the past, when he was a kid, he grew up in the Bronx, and he did get in fights with people picking on him, but his sister-in-law, Mrs. Reich from L.A., made it very clear they only started up with that little Jewish boy once. He was little, but he was like this. They only had to start up with him once, and they learned, don't pick a fight with that Jewish kid. They learned that. And that was something he imparted to his students, both boys and girls. And I have heard from his students how later in life different things happened to them, how they looked back on their Rebbe and felt how things he had directed them towards or taught them helped to protect them in one way or another. But here's the question. We have Rabbi Singer and the theme of Hanukkah with the Maccabees. You have a lot of Torah. And you have, besides the Torah, you have pumped up. Everybody pictures the Maccabees as these pumped up people. As my students would say, they don't have a 6-pack, they have a 12-pack. That's how we picture the Maccabees. Of course, if you do a little bit of research, you may be disappointed to find out that number one, Shimshon HaGibor. What?
They were just yeshiva bochas.
Right, Shimshon HaGibor, the mighty Samson, didn't. Now, I don't know if you're going to be old enough to get this. He did not look like Victor Mature in the movie, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, or whoever you're into. He didn't look like that. Samson looked, I don't want to say, like a regular person. The Maccabees, if you go through Josephus and study other sources, really maybe just the immediate 5 brothers. Certainly Yehuda, you'll forgive me, as my students would say, they were buff. Yeah. But the rest of the Maccabees, they were regular guys. But when Hanukkah comes around, Jews always wonder about that. People tend to get very sensitive with the idea of the Maccabeah. So some people think the Maccabeah is the most wonderful things in the world because no Jews get discriminated for being in it. And of course, if you read a little bit about Jews and sports, over the years, the Olympic Committee made some real goobers towards Jews. There are a number of things. So the Maccabeah is great; it's opportunity. But other people, they get all sensitive and they say, no, you have the wrong idea. That's not what the Maccabees were all about. You're taking the physical strength too far. All right, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, like Maimonides says. But here's the question. You have Rabbi Singer and Rabbi Kahana teaching you got to be full of Torah and you got to be full of this physical strength. But how well do those two go together? So the first place to look is, Rabbi Newberger would say, the first address is a Gemara in Bava Metzia. Now there are two stars in the Gemara. One of them name is Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Now, we love Rabbi Weisblum, and one of the reasons we like Rabbi Weisblum is because he has a colorful background. Okay? I have my students. Now, yeshiva boys have really changed. It used to be when a yeshiva boy comes to your class, he knows what to say to the Rebbe and what not to say to the Rebbe, or what to say in front of the Rebbe. These guys, they'll talk about what movie they went to, rated this, rated that. My guys came in the other day with a big smile, all of them. Hey, over vacation, you see James Bond? Yeah, I saw James Bond. Yeah, I saw James Bond. I mean, it used to be that regardless of your religious level, if you ever saw a James Bond movie, you may know why. In front of your Rebbe, you don't exactly publicize that. So regardless, I like Sean Connery as much as the next, but there's other parts of the movie you don't exactly want your Rebbe to know about, So, Rabbi Weisblum in many ways, is a Jewish James Bond, the kosher version. However, you can't beat Reish Lakish's background. Reish Lakish, according to Tosfos and most Rishonim, early sources, he was raised a regular religious upbringing. He was brilliant, and somewhere around Bar Mitzvah time, he started having thoughts. He joined the circus. That star rabbi joins the circus. Now, I don't know what his gig was in the circus, all right? I don't know if we know anything about that. The Art Scroll history tells you that he definitely joined the circus. But he found when he was in the circus that he was abnormally strong, far, far beyond the regular strength, maybe almost as strong as Gil when he came out of boot camp. He was incredible. And he decided, let's go for a life of crime. I'm going to be the first Jewish gangster. And we're not going to have a shir today about Bugsy Siegel, Lipka Buchwalter, or any of your other favorite Jews, who will just leave it at, they gave an awful lot of money to the state of Israel, and let's leave it at that, and they helped the Exodus boat leave from Baltimore. All right, fine. But Reish Lakish, Shimon ben Lakish, made up his mind, I'm going to be the first Jewish gangster. And probably from the age of 14, 15, 16, he was going all over the place. And he was so good with the weapons and his techniques that later in his life, when he comes back to Judaism, there's an argument between he and his mentor brother-in-law, Rabbi Yochanan, a certain halacha about knives, and Rabbi Yochanan bows to Reish Lakish and says, hey, you were in the business, I can't argue you about knives. He's probably one of these people, you open up the Coke, what do you want, a stiletto, a bare knife, what do you want? So let me tell you what happened with Reish Lakish. So Reish Lakish, now we're going to try to make this a G-rated thing. Now, depending where you were in 1965, okay, even if you were born after that, you're going to know this. There's a song called Born to be Wild from Steppenwolf. I don't even have to sing you the rest of it. Just, I think some of you in college, some of you in diapers, some of you probably heard on Golden Oldies, but Born to be Wild is used all over the place. Whoever wrote that song wrote it for Reish Lakish, because that was him. He was running around, getting into everything, beating people up, abducting women, everything. So one day, he's taking a walk, and Rabbi Yochanan, the greatest sage in Israel, the editor of Talmud Yerushalmi, he was taking a dip in the river, because that's what you did in those days before regular plumbing. So he's taking a dip in there, but there's a slight adjustment. Rabbi Yochanan didn't go with a beard. Rabbi Yochanan was related to the tribe of Yosef, and he was exceedingly handsome. So from a distance, and the day before glasses, if you were standing far enough away, it appeared that a beautiful lady with rosy cheeks was taking a dip. So if you're the number one gangster, you're going to join the club. Now, you have to have pity on me. I taught this to teenage boys. I begged them not to persecute me because they all were smiling too wide. So anyway, but Rabbi Reish Lakish did an Olympic jump that would have made some of the greatest Olympians jealous. He did a jump. Now, you have to remember also, in them days, now Bruce, this is before your time, When you went swimming, Anishka, say it in Spanish, you'll translate, Anishka Gagman mit Kangatkis. You want to translate that? Skinny dipping. So Reish Lakish, That was good Spanish, right? Nishkagagan mit kein Gat geschnit. All right, fine. Anyway, so he stood on the shore, dropped his drawers, took an arcing leap, lands in the water, sees it's a man, and he goes, oh my God, this is embarrassing. So Rabbi Yochanan was ready to save a life. Now you talk about daring people from Aisha Torah, Project Discovery, Arochim, Chabad, whatever team you like. Rabbi Yochanan is standing there wearing nothing in the water with a man who thought he was a woman, and he realized this is the outlaw. And Rabbi Yochanan looks at him and says, gosh, you're strong. Why not try that strength for Torah? Now Reish Lakish doesn't miss a beat. He looks at Rabbi Yochanan's rosy face. He says, you ought to give your beauty away to a woman. So he's right away ready for him. So Rabbi Yochanan, and I don't think this is in the key of the outreach handbooks. Rabbi Yochanan looks at him and says, I tell you what, I got a gorgeous sister. She's more gorgeous than I am. You come to my yeshiva, I'll get you a date. So Reish Lakish thinks about it. Torah, pretty girl. Torah, pretty girl. Okay, I'll try it out. Sounds like, you're pretty good looking. Your sister's, oh, my sister. Now, my class right away screamed, but he didn't ask his sister if he could do it. Imagine you come home, hi sis, I got a date for you. I want to set you up with someone. Oh, he just got out of prison. And older brothers like you, so that's a tough answer. That you have to get into a culture of the times and all kind of things, and then you have to keep the people from NOW from coming in and screaming and yelling. But the bottom line is, he says, okay, I'll give it a try. Rabbi Yochanan turned around to do the return jump. The return jump over there. Couldn't do it. And he had his moves set. You have to think about it. It's a little bit harder blasting off when you have your feet on the bottom of a creek, but he tried to do the return move. Didn't go. Comes Rashi and makes trouble, and he ruins everything for Rabbi Singer, but we're going to try to save him. Rashi says the reason he couldn't do the return jump, because there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that says Torah mateshet kol chol sha'odam. Torah weakens the strength of man. And as soon as Reish Lakish had accepted the yoke of learning Torah, even though he hadn't gone back to learn it yet, it made him weaker. He couldn't do the jump. Now eventually they get out of the water, get dressed. He goes out with his sister. He married his sister. Reish Lakish catches up for lost years, and he's very close to Rabbi Yochanan. Argues him all over the Talmud. All right. But we got a problem, because we have a Rashi quoting the Gemara Sanhedrin literally that once I accept, even just for accepting learn Torah, I'm already starting to get weaker. Now what? Now Rabbi Singer, what are we going to? He knew this Gemara. What am I going to do with this? You tell me a Jew has to be strong and tough to put up the right kind of image, but I got to learn Torah. I mean, how are they going to interact over here? And you'll remember from a parsha 2 weeks ago, it further doesn't make sense. But I'm sure my wife's will mention our forefather, the patriarch Jacob, Yaakov, he spent 14 years learning in yeshiva. Now, according to this, when he came out, he should have been all wimped out. He should have been all cracked up. 14 years in yeshiva. Now, you could try to explain this with romance, but we do know that when he meets our grandmother, Rachel, for the first time, there was a huge boulder on a well, and usually it took many shepherds to roll it off. Yaakov Avinu sees our grandmother Rachel, takes one look at her, falls in love, violins in the back, and David's got a sailboat going for two with champagne, everything, in the middle of Charan up there, wherever they were. He sees her, picks up the rock all by himself. Usually it takes a ton of men, lifts it up. Now you could try, now of course if you want to be a rationalist, you would say, oh no, that was the adrenaline of love. That's what it was. It can easily be scientifically explained through the adrenaline of love. There are many, many stories of people saving relatives from overturned cars and all that. All right, you can try to say that, but it's a pretty amazing thing with a boulder. I mean, I love my wife, but the most I've lifted for her is a dishpan. That's about it. Push the refrigerator, here and there, but I don't know, I don't know. Maybe my wife's name is Chai instead of Rachel. Maybe that's the problem. I have a daughter-in-law named Rachel. I have to find out what my son did for her. But the trouble is there are other instances where it's evident that Yaakov Avinu had a tremendous amount of strength. He never lost it. So you have to go to the commentaries, Rabbi Singer, and the commentaries you will find the mix of, is this business of Torah weakening someone's power? Is it physical? Does it mean something else? So let me tell you what a young man said in my classroom. We have a young fellow, Yehuda Sanders, who's a very interesting young man. He's 17 in our vocational yeshiva, and he is a weightlifter. So he identifies with this rabbi. He sits in front of his picture. Why is he a weightlifter? When he was very young, he got bullied a lot in primary school, and he made up his mind, and this is by Jews. And my mother told me Jewish kids don't do that. Now, my mother doesn't lie, but I guess she didn't meet these kids. But, well, that's a fact. Bullying is all over the country, and it's happening in Jewish schools just as well. It got really, really bad. The kid left the school. He made up his mind, I'm going to weightlift because I'm going to be tough. He is short. So he made up his mind, I'm going to weightlift. David, you never bullied anybody. You just scared them, right? So, he weightlifted. So when he heard this question, this boy in my class, Yehuda Sanders, I think for the first time in his life, he said a Torah thought. And this is a boy who for a long time had his ups and downs, but I knew that this kid had something special in him. I'm just going to take a tiny aside. I knew that this kid had promise because in 1929, his grandfather, Rabbi Michael Sanders, was studying in Hebron in Israel. And when the Arabs went wild and had the pogrom and killed people in Hebron, this boy, Yehuda Zaidi, was there. He was a bacher in Hebron Yeshiva. And it is known in Baltimore, because the Sanders family's been around for a while, the Zaidi was stabbed by the Arabs 17 times. I originally heard it from Rabbi Shmuel Vitzik, used to be the rabbi from Sinai. His Zaidi was stabbed 17 times, lived through it. When you would see him, I used to daven in his shul, he had a slight wobble. Now, the doctor could explain to us what happens to your spinal system if you get stabbed you're supposed to just die, right? You don't usually live through that. But he had a strange wobble, but other than that, he was normal. So this boy, Yehuda, is that man's grandson. So I knew there's something in this kid's neshama. So I just want to share with you what he said, and then this is going to be a whole unfolding topic. But there are people who take it literally, but I just want to tell you what Yehuda said, because it was so beautiful, and it was explained more by a Jewish weightlifter. Yehuda said like this: it's not that when you accept to learn Torah, it weakens you and your muscles fall off, okay? It's not like the Popeye cartoon where without the spinach it goes down like that. No. He said there's different kinds of strength within a human being. And there's like a switch that you could flick on and off. When you're being very cerebral, when most of the time you're concentrating on Torah or intellectual pursuits, your mind is headed that way, your strength isn't gone, but you're not really in gear for the physical strength. You can get it back, and there are several stories in the Gemara with rabbis that maybe usually weren't so powerful, but in emergency situations they were able to find all kinds of power. So Yehuda wanted to say, it's not that Reish Lakish lost his muscles, it's that once he switched on that I'm going to be more of a cerebral thinking kind of a person, it sort of flicked the switch, and he didn't have that same drive anymore for the muscles. Not that his muscles didn't fall off in the water, it was a matter of the drive towards it. That's what Torah did. Thursday night, I had a meeting with a fellow named Wayne Bloomberger. Okay, Wayne Bloomberger is a recovering heart patient, and a lot of Jews in Baltimore try to visit him. Wayne is a professional weightlifter, and let me tell you what he lifts. I don't know if you know about this. Have you ever heard of what's called kettlebells or kettleballs? Kettlebells. Mm-hmm. Wayne had 2 heart procedures. He lifts kettlebells. He let me try. And he explained to me that if you're a real true blue weightlifter, It's about technique. It's about getting psyched up. He said it's not about being strong. That's a part of it. But he said just because you're real strong does not mean you're going to be a good weightlifter. And he showed me why you can't do kettlebells, because the weight is disproportionate and you have to throw it in the air and flip it over onto your wrist. The guy did it for me. He gave me a baby one to try, but I was in a bad mood, so I was able to do it a little bit better, that was my adrenaline over there. But Wayne and I discussed this Gemara, and he told me that all the weightlifting he does, he's strong, but it's all psyche. You have to be psyched up a certain way, and there's even a certain philosophy. So if your brain isn't normally on that channel, he said it's not going to work, and he said that could very well what was going on with Reish Lakish. But I don't want to lie to you this time. But there are people that do take it literal. But what I truly think where Rabbi Singer would say the following difference. Rabbi Singer might say, if he could be with us, and he also served in the Six-Day War. He was already married with a kid, and he still went. Didn't tell his whole family except for his wife, but he went. They were proud afterwards. Rabbi Singer might say this. There's a difference. Maybe if you're very absorbed in Torah, it can weaken your physical strength because of your direction and your drive. But he said, you know what? That's not what I'm teaching. I'm not teaching to be strong just for the sake of being strong. I'm teaching Jews that they need to be strong to defend the Jewish people, to stand up for the Jewish people. I'm not trying to win a medal over here. I'm teaching students Torah, and I'm teaching students various martial arts things and all kinds of strengthening body techniques, because I want the Jewish people to be strong. So it's a little bit of a different kind of a strength. It's a strength with like a very higher purpose. So who knows? Rabbi Singer would probably say, aiming for that kind of strength, you could keep them all. But there's a lot to talk about it, and with Hashem's help, we'll talk about it another time. And we just want to wish that all the troops and troopettes, wherever they are, Afghan, Iraq, Israel, our soldiers still on nervous wrecking with the ceasefire, that they should have a very, very peaceful Hanukkah. The next Hanukkah, we all should be together with them to enjoy 100% peaceful Hanukkah in Jerusalem. Thank you very much on behalf of the Shul and Lancaster Vocational Yeshiva. Have something more to eat and drink.